Alright, this is a beginner's tutorial for C# programming language using a Microsoft Express IDE integrated developers environment because it's free and it's got some useful stuff on it. You can Google it, find the download page and download it. I'll be using for this tutorial the Visual C# 2010 Express Edition. They make you jump through a couple hoops to get it, but it's all free. And you need to put a product key in within 30 days in the program to keep it running, but that's all free. So once you get it downloaded and installed, then you can run it. This tutorial is I'm going to be using flights. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Falcon 4 flight simulator, and I'm going to draw data out of that flight simulator and display it on a text box. So that the tutorial kind of leans towards guys trying to draw data out of a flight sim, but just basic beginners. You can learn some stuff about just real basic stuff like using buttons and text boxes and references to DLL. So you might find that even if you're not in the flight sims, you might find some of this interesting or useful, hopefully. And so I click on new project. So we're going to create a new project, and we're going to use the Windows Form application, and I'm going to name my project my chaff count, because what I want to do is draw out data from the flight simulator, basically the chaff count of the aircraft flying in the flight simulator, and then have that displayed on the text box. So you'll get a Windows form, and we're going to add a button. So you just go to your toolbox, left click on button, drag, left click and drag. It'll deposit a button on here, and you notice that whatever is highlighted by the little boxes is what is active, what you're working on at the time. So because the button 1 is active, we can go over here to properties, and basically it'll list all the properties related to that button. The text on the button, the color, the size, whatever. Basically we're just going to change two things: that the text of the button, what it's going to read. I'm going to change that to chaff count. Enter that, hit enter, and you'll notice that it changes on the button, the font, the text changes. And also I'm going to change the actual reference in the program. When you add a bunch of buttons on, after a while it gets confusing. You have button 1, button 2, button 3, and you forget what the heck the button does. So you just try and change it in the program, so just to remind yourself what the hell the button does. So change mine to chaff button 1. Alright, so when you double click on the button itself, opens up another tab. Here's back here, the Form 1 Design tab is where we started out. It gives you a little picture of what your form is going to look like. And then when you double click on any item that's on the form, it'll take you directly to that programming. So any program, what you want that button to execute, you're going to write that programming right inside here. And notice it says chaff button 1 click, and that's when we renamed it over here in the properties to chaff button 1. Like I said, so it makes it easier to remember if you're putting multiple buttons in. And remember, our chaff count here under text changes what it appears on the form itself, basically on the outside of the button. And we'll go back to toolbox. We're going to drag a text box onto the form. This is what's going to display our chaff count. When we draw the data out of the simulator, when we press on the chaff count button, it's going to execute a program. It's going to draw the data out of the simulator and then deposit the data into the text box and display it. And I'm going to change, sometimes you get multiple text boxes, and you also remember, wherever you got highlighted is what's going to show up in the properties box. So if you go to properties and you see some weird stuff, make sure you get the right thing that you're working on highlighted. So we got hot text box highlighted, so it's going to show us all the attributes, the properties of that text box. And I'm just going to change the name of it, the programming name of the text box, to my chaff text box. And once again, double click on that text box, and here you see it changed the programming name to my chaff text box, and adds text box changed on it. Alright, so up to this point, I want to do a basic explanation of the C# programming language. It's a OOP programming language, object-oriented programming language they call it. And basically, when they talk about classes and objects, they're talking like it's a type of language that's in a modular form. So you can create these little modules of programming, and then you can give these to other people, whoever wants to use them, and they can stick those little modules inside their programming and use them. And so you don't have to reinvent the wheel 1,000 times. So if they have something that you want, that they've written a program that they've written, then you can copy it basically in the form of a DLL file, which is a dynamically linked library. It's a library file, which is basically just a portable file that you can copy and add a reference to, which I'll explain later, and allows you to use all the programming that person wrote in your program, and you use it by accessing his or her program by using objects and classes. And basically, like I said, an object, or actually a class, is like a module of programming that's reusable over and over again. You can make as many copies of it as you want in your program, and then you can access in that class or that object in your program. And the best way to describe classes and objects, the way I look at it, is like a class. I view a class as like a rubber stamp. And a rubber stamp of a house. So you have a rubber stamp in the shape of a house, and the house has all this little rooms inside, its bedroom and its garage and the kitchen, and all those little rooms are basically, I view those as methods and properties inside the class that do things that are functional. And I'll continue this in the next part, so I'm running out of time. But again, a little more detailed explanation of classes and objects. Not a big thing, but a fundamental concept in C# programming. See ya.